Hey, welcome back to Room 237. It's John. Now back to the second review that I wanted to do today because I saw the Joker trailer, so I had to make a reaction video. Excuse me. So yeah, I just did Yoga Hosers, which was an awful comedy, worst Kevin Smith film I've ever seen. Watched that last night on Netflix because I wasn't gonna pay for that shit. At least pay for that shit by itself. What I watched after was another Kevin Smith film, one that came out before it, one that I had seen before. And I didn't really mind it at first because I wasn't really that into Kevin Smith yet. But that was Tusk. Now Tusk is not as bad as Yoga Hosers, but it's not even as good as some of the lesser View Askew Kevin Smith films. Like when it comes to View Askew, those are the Kevin Smith films I like. And I would say the bottom of those would either be Dogma or Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I know. I'm sorry, but I like Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, and Clerks 2 a lot better than those two. I even read one review that said Tusk was a return to form for Kevin Smith after Red State. I haven't seen Red State, so I don't know, but a return to form? In what way? I mean, there's some scenes that are like Kevin Smith, yeah, some of the talky scenes. But it's still like, Kevin Smith, what the fuck are you doing? First of all, this movie came to me because during his Smodcast, which he does or did, I don't know if he still does, with Scott Mosier, there was an ad a few years ago about this guy. This guy posted an ad saying you can live in my house free of charge as long as you dress like a walrus. So Kevin and Scott talked about that for like an hour, about a hypothetical film. Kevin then put a thing out that said, hashtag yeah, hashtag walrus yes, hashtag walrus no to make the movie. Fans spoke, fans won, they got their movie. Thanks, fans. Now, I don't hate Tusk as much as I hate Yoga Hosers. I don't even really hate Tusk. It's just, I mean, sometimes I've seen it like 3 times. I saw it a few years ago, twice, because I was showing people, and then I watched it last night. Last night, I didn't enjoy it as much because before I hadn't seen Clerks or Mallrats or Chasing Amy. I forgot where I was. Alright. So a few years ago, I was like, okay, this is just a cool, twisted horror movie. Well, last night, I was just like, it's not Kevin. Alright, basically, you have Justin Long and Haley Joel Osment. They run this podcast called the Not See Party. Notsee. Because Justin Long flies to where there's interesting or weird people, gets their story, flies back, talks about it on the podcast, and Haley Joel Osment won't fly, so he doesn't get to see the story. Hence, Not See. The movie opens up with, them watching this video on YouTube of the Kill Bill kid. This kid swinging a sword, he cuts his leg off, with horrendous CGI. I mean, as bad as the sauerkraut in Yoga Hosers. And, I mean, they're laughing, they're making fun of this kid. I mean, I've listened to podcasts, I've listened to radio shows. I mean, my favorite radio show is called Free Beer and Hot Wings. They make fun of shit like that all the time. That wasn't that upsetting. And, they've got posters around the studio of like Nazi Party of like tours they did where it looks like comic books, and pretty much it's like, okay, it's just Kevin Smith putting his comic fandom into this movie, which is fine. So Justin Long is supposed to go interview and meet this kid. The kid's in Canada because this is the beginning of Kevin Smith's True North Canadian trilogy that he wants to make for some reason. Yeah, the third one, if he ever gets to make it, is called Moose Jaws. Jaws with a moose. Why do we need that? Because Kevin Smith loves Jaws. That's why it's referenced in every movie. Anyway. Finds out the kid committed suicide. You find out Justin Long's an asshole. Because he's just like, that selfish prick could hold out for a few more. It's dark comedy, I get it, but it makes you not care about the character. You know, if they made him a genuine guy, then maybe you would feel worse for him throughout the movie. But so he's at this bar, he's in the bathroom, he finds like this pull tab ad of this guy saying, I have a life full of stories. You can live here with me, free of charge, you just have to listen to my stories. Justin Long's interested. He stops off at the fucking gas station where the girls from Yoga Hosers are. And they're like, it's about 2 hours. So he drives up there, and the guy's played by Michael Parks, who we've seen in, he was in Kill Bill 1, Kill Bill 2, he was in Death Proof, all Tarantino films, he was in From Dusk Till Dawn. I like Michael Parks. May he rest in peace. He passed away recently. He's in this movie as the old man with the stories. He talks about how he met like Ernest Hemingway. He was on all these warships. And by then, you know, Justin Long's getting a little drowsy. Realizes his tea's been spiked. When he wakes up, his leg is gone. He realizes that Michael Parks is not exactly the kind of guy he thought he was. Even before he was really drugged, and then for a little bit after, he's talking about walrus. He's talking about walruses. This walrus saved his life in one of his stories. And he just keeps talking more psychotically about walrus. And that's when Justin Long realizes this guy is whacked. He's taken my leg. He's got this walrus fetish or fascination. He's gonna fuck me up. Then throughout the film we get these, they are like Kevin Smith bits because they are talking, but it's boring. You know, like Justin Long has flashbacks of like, you know, getting a blowy from his girlfriend that I think he lives with. But her talking about how, you know, why can't I come with you to these places, and I don't want you to go, or it's not that I don't, it's just boring. It's talking, it's Kevin Smith, but it's boring. It's like when Tarantino did Death Proof. Tarantino is known for talkie films, but Death Proof is boring as fuck. Yeah, I don't like Death Proof. And so then we get more scenes of his crying girlfriend talking to somebody, how he's a cheating asshole, I shouldn't feel bad. You know, no woman should have to go through this. And we see like a hand come in, like touch her face. We're like, who could that be? Who is she with? It's fucking obvious. It's Haley Joel Osment, the only other guy we've seen in the whole movie. You realize we get more scenes. You know, she brushes her teeth, but we can't see the guy in the other room. Then Haley Joel Osment comes in. We see a phone vibrate because by this point Justin Long has managed to find his cell phone and he's calling for help. Haley Joel Osment ignores it. And then, I mean, eventually we get to the point that, which is really the only reason why you would want to watch this movie. It takes about 40, 50 minutes before we finally get to this point, which is, you know, Michael Parks had successfully somehow turned Justin Long into a walrus. I don't know how he did it. You know, like his His whole outer body is like the same size as a walrus, but it looks like stitched together skin. The flippers, it looks like, the web, like, it's all webbing of other figures, so it's like bone and skin. His feet look all fused together to look like walrus feet. His leg bones have been turned into tusks. His tongue's been taken out. So all he can do is just, ah, ah, ah. That's all Justin Long does for the rest of the movie. And of course, Michael Parks tries to get him to swim, but of course he doesn't know how to swim when he's like this. He makes him eat fish. He keeps calling him Mr. Tusk. Basically, Michael Parks, when he was young, shipwreck, landed on shore, a walrus took care of him, brought him fish, kept him warm. He was starving. Eventually he had to kill the walrus and eat it, but then he got rescued, and he's been guilty ever since. And he's always wanted to recreate Mr. Tusk again so that Mr. Tusk could kill him, which is really fucking stupid. So we get like a bunch of scenes of Michael Parks trying to get Justin Long to be more walrusy. Haley Joel Osment and Justin Long's girlfriend, they finally listen to the voicemails. They realize he's been missing. They have to drive all the way to Canada. Like, they have to drive all the way to Manitoba from LA, which I don't know Canada geography that well. But I think it's farther east. So they drive all the way there. They're able to, sort of find the rental places that Justin Long went to. And then we see Johnny Depp's over-the-top Guy Lapointe. That's how it's spelled, but he's like Guy Lapointe, or however the fuck he says it. This manhunter that's been trying to catch this serial killer for years. So they talk to him for like a half hour. And the only thing that's keeping it interesting is the way Johnny Depp says things. Other than that, it's not a super interesting bit. Because, walruses are like this. So Johnny Depp will say, like, his torso was found, sort of like he crucified the T-Rex, arms like that. And, just he has a goofy, over-the-top Canadian way of saying things that's kind of humorous. Lots of makeup. Like, if I hadn't seen Johnny Depp's name somewhere where I was reading about it, I would not have known that was him. I mean, you know how Johnny Depp sort of does that thing with his eyes and his eyebrows are like he acts with his eyes and eyebrows a lot. He does do that in this movie. He's much better in this movie than he is in Yoga Hosers. He shares a story about how he met this guy, this serial killer, believes he did. And he went to investigate him, and we see the story, like, he was out in this cottage out in the woods, and Michael Parks is supposed to, at this point, I guess, guessing, like, like, talking like this Canadian backwoods, old whatever. And you pretty much have him talking like that, Johnny Depp talking the way he's talking for a long time about, I'm not here to kill the spider. I'm here to talk about the hockey player that has gone missing. But, just the way they're talking, it's kind of humorous and kind of silly, but not enough to go on for 10-15 minutes the way they do. So then, Johnny Depp gets together with those two to go find Justin Long. But now, like, Michael Parks, he's made himself a walrus suit so they can, like, fight. So they're on this thing where they're, like, bumping into each other, they're fighting. And it's just like, dude, if you kill Justin Long, you've wasted a whole specimen. No wonder you're a serial killer. It's like, he wants this walrus to kill him, But he keeps trying to kill the walrus. It's like, dude, it doesn't make sense, and it looks stupid. It looks really silly. Seeing these two, like, Leatherface looking walruses just, like, bumping into each other. Looks ridiculous. The three of them get close, and there is this funny part. Johnny Depp opens this case. There's a big shiny shotgun and 2 pistols. So he goes like this. He's like, these are guns. Haley Joel Osment doesn't want it. She's like, what kind of American are you? He's like, we like guns. Yeah, we do. So finally, they get to the house. Justin Long's overpowered Michael Parks. He's like stabbing him with his tusks. And then they pretty much just take Justin Long to like this zoo, where he can live the rest of his life as a walrus. Oh, but we get like this flashback about Justin Long and his girlfriend laying in bed, but they're talking about crying. And she says how her grandfather told her it's good to cry because it separates us from the animals. And we see like a tear come down Justin Long, and he kind of just goes back into his hut to show that he is human inside, which I don't understand. Is Justin Long is a skinny dude. This walrus suit is like big and fat. It's like, what is padded in there to make this whole thing irreversible? I mean, yeah, the tongue and the legs and the everything, but you would think you could undo so, like, Michael Parks had the same suit. He didn't have a head, like his face was sticking out, but he had the same kind of suit. But it wasn't stuffed with anything, like, it wasn't like, I don't know, I guess it's irreversible. He's stuck like that forever. I don't even know what they tried. But yeah, Justin Long's a skinny dude. There's this big fat walrus suit. You would think it's, because there's even parts like where his head is like stuck in like this, and then he like goes out like that. It's like, okay, his body must be in there somewhere. They can just undo all this shit, but they don't. It goes for a very downbeat, depressing ending. And I mean, I don't hate the movie. It's not that I even strongly dislike it. It's just when I compare it to other Kevin Smith films, I'm just like, why was this made? And if this is considered the better horror film of Kevin Smith next to Red State, I don't know if I want to see Red State. I mean, some of it's enjoyable. I mean, it does feel way more like Kevin Smith than fucking Yoga Hosers. But that's not saying much. You know, it does go at a decent pace. It's not a slow movie, even for some of the long talky scenes. But still, even when a movie like that, when I was watching it last night, I was like, okay, this kind of reminds me of Kevin Smith. This feels more like a Smith scene. It still just made me think of Clerks or Mallrats, which I'd much rather watch. Surprisingly, my girlfriend actually liked it. Like, she seemed to enjoy it. She didn't see like the first half of it, but so yeah, Tusk, just another example for me of Kevin Smith. What's going on with you? This movie doesn't kill my hopes for a Jay and Silent Bob reboot like Yoga Hosers did. I still have a lick of hope, but you know, Yoga Hosers was awful. I've already done my rant. I'm done with that movie. Yeah, Tusk, I don't hate, but it's not that I love it, or that I can't even really say that I like it all that much. It's just there. I mean, I've seen it 3 times. Twice was a few years ago. Once was last night. And I kind of forgot a lot of key stuff, probably. But anyway, yeah. I kind of wanted to try to keep this under 20 minutes, but getting stuffed up again. Tusk, not Kevin Smith's worst film, but far from his best. I would probably call this a mild rant because it still is a step in the wrong direction for him. I think, anyway. But yeah, Tusk, not that great, but not super terrible. I mean, I would put this... I guess the horror aspect would make me put it above Zack and Miri. But even then, it's like Tusk, Zack and Miri, and Yoga Hosers is like way the fuck down here. So yeah. But I mean, it's still far from his best. But I don't know. Yeah, Tusk, it's there. Don't hate it, don't love it. It's somewhere I'm kind of neutral about it. So for Road 237, John is out. Thank you.